What's the worst sex ed advice you received at school? The sex ed I had in school consisted entirely of a 20-minute video in 3rd or 4th grade that basically amounted to sometimes you'll pee your pants when you're asleep, but it's not pee. This is normal, and in health class we had a unit on STDs. Not like how to prevent, treat them. But wow. This sucks. Look at all those rashes and hives you can get. So I'd say the worst sex ed advice I received at school was N/er. Yeah. The sex ed I got at school was basically look at these horrific pictures of STDs. The only way to not get them is to not have sex. Apostrophe. Me too. Just add in a victim blaming cautionary tale about a girl getting raped and then being punished with an STD. We were told that a wet dream produced an amount of fluid tantamount to wetting the bed. They didn't even tell us what fluid it was. Okay, so I've always been confused by this. Are wet dreams orgasmic every time you get to wake up to coming in your pants? Or is it different? And it's like you wake up going huh, that's not jizz. What is that? And it's like the same thing as when girls squirt. And it's not quite pee, but something else? I'm so sorry this sounds so dumb, but I have questions and I want answers. Edit. I'm getting so many answers, thank you so much. I used to have wet dreams before I discovered masturbation. Yeah. Theorgasmic. But I didn't wake up. I slept straight through. Usually I would have a very vivid sex dream. I put sex in quotes because I didn't quite know the mechanics of sex, but these dreams were clearly sexual in nature. Anyway, I'd wake up in the morning and find some goo in my shorts. I didn't quite know exactly what it was, but I knew it was connected. I don't know why in sex ed they told us about semen. Told us to expect some fluid from wet dreams, but didn't tell us specifically that the wet dream fluid was semen. No idea why that was a bridge too far. This isn't advice, but my sex ed teacher told us ejaculate is the whitest substance on earth. Edit. Wow. This really blew up, so I'll add some more detail. She was a relatively young teacher. I did argue with her, but she just told me to stop being difficult. I insisted she was wrong, but she said the textbook knew more than me. But being teenage boy at the time, I knew a thing or two about what ejaculate looks like. Your sex ed teacher's cum looks like whiteout. Time to use cum as white OUT caret ITS caret FREE. If you have sex, you will get gonorrhea, and you will die. Alright, now everybody take some rubbers. As a guy, the only thing I learned from sex ed, and this was for all the boys to learn, once the girls were separated, was that pregnancy can happen, and this what an anatomically correct penis is. An anatomically correct penis? Were they trying to shame some poor kid? If you ask any questions I'm gonna assume your penis is wrong. I'm looking at you, Sarah, apostrophe. It was unsolicited sex advice from a psych tar. Don't go into dark alleys, because you will end up having sex in there. With who? No freaking idea. Maybe the weird alley sex goblins. The STD talk during my middle school's health class comprised of a vague video showing a paintbrush dipping into various paints, one after another, until there was a messy smear of colors everywhere. The advice was, verbatim, girls, don't let other people's paint get anywhere near you. Art class afterwards was real fun though. My school did this with Skittles. They gave each person a bunch of Skittles of one color. Then you were supposed to shake hands with 5 other kids and swap one Skittle when you did. So you end up with Skittles of various colors. Then at the end, they said handshaking was sex. And the Skittles are STDs. Yellow is HIV. Red is gonorrhea. etc. They gave each Skittle a disease. Look how many STDs you have after having sex 5 times. Then we all ate the Skittles. Not sure where that fit into the mediocre analogy. I'm 24 and when I was a freshman in high school my health teacher legit told us that women could get pregnant by just sleeping naked next to a man. She told us of her best friend who never had sex, but kissed and hugged a man naked and got pregnant. I mentioned my age because that kind of batshit crazy take on sex ed seemed outdated to us, and it was relatively recent. It was a public school too BTW. Yeah. She would get naked just to kiss and hug. Seems like a legit story. I knew this genius at school from the football team who I once heard saying, yes, oh, if you finish inside a girl, try your hardest to pee in her. The acidity of pee will kill the sperm. Fortunately we were in anatomy class and my teacher heard it too. She gave us a quick and actual sex ed class right there and then. Sounds like an episode of South Park. I basically had the same sex ed they gave in Mean Girls. The whole condoms don't work. Pills don't guarantee 100%. So if you have sex, you will get pregnant. Apostrophe. If you have sex, you'll get pregnant and die. You obviously didn't go to Catholic school. At Catholic school it's get pregnant, die, and burn in hell. Don't try to stick your prick too far in. BC a baby will grab hold of it and pull its way out. They do. Trust me. They manage to crawl their way out via your penis. When I was homeschooled, my mom told me that masturbating caused cancer because you'd be too aggressive to your ballsack due to the motion. I feel bad for my father now. That's ironic because it actually helps to prevent prostate cancer. Wrap it twice. Just as nice. The condoms rub against one another and have a greater chance of breaking. One is fine. What you do is you put one on and then add hot sauce and then put on the other one. You will notice if one of them breaks. Condoms are worthless, so don't bother. This was at a public school in an abstinence only state. The statistics they gave us were that condoms fail 16% of the time because there are tiny pores in them, and sometimes human sperm can swim through those pores. The HIV virus is 100% smaller than a human sperm, so how often do you think it can get through those pores? As an adult I found out that these BS claims are based on lambskin condoms, which actually say right on the package that they are not recommended for the prevention of disease because they do, in fact, have microscopic pores in them. But I don't even know where you would get these condoms. All the ones I've ever seen in a store are latex, which has no pores and are far from useless. Some people are allergic to latex. You have to get them from an actual pharmacy most of the time. There are other latex-free condoms that are not lambskin. I had no sex education, not from parents or school. Our school's excuse for sex ed was a 1-hour presentation where the girls and boys were separated. Girls were taught about periods, what an standard was, and how pregnancy happens. Nothing about actual sex. Nothing about men's bodies. Nothing about safe sex. Nothing about birth control. I had never heard of a clitoris until I was 14. Thank God for the internet. Seriously, I don't know what I would have done. And that's the message that we deliver to little kids and expect them not to know what a woman's clitoris is. I had a gym teacher say it's impossible to have sex with a woman if she didn't want to because the hole closes up if she doesn't want to. He went to jail for guess what? In primary school they decided to separate the boys and girls classes and show the boys the girls sex ed video and vice versa. Not a clue what was going on in their heads. Men are completely incapable of controlling themselves made it sound to everyone that we had no control over our bodies, thoughts or actions, and that we spray urine and semen at everything that crosses our path. As a Muslim raised girl, this one pisses me off. In some religions/cultures they put an emphasis on covering up girls so they won't get raped. If you ask why, the answer is men can't control themselves. This is such a harmful mindset because men are viewed as primitive beings that have no control of their actions, and that if anything happens to a girl it's her fault for provoking the man with her clothes/actions. It's a shitty take all around that infuriated me to no end. Worse still, by covering up girls in this way the only thing that happens is that unstable men will become even less in control of themselves than they would have been if they would have gotten used to actually seeing girls. Our teacher told us all the different types of sex, oral/vaginal/anal, and some girl asked him if fingerbanging counted as sex. He said, "No, it doesn't." The girl then proudly proclaimed that she was still a virgin. That was grade 5, folks. Abstinence is the only way to get to heaven, unless you are married. Total BS. There's a stairway you can buy. I went to a school in a wealthy suburb in Texas. Our school was forced to teach safe sex, not safe sex. So, abstinence only. No discussion on condoms or any other type of birth control. Like a third of the female students graduated with at least one secret abortion under their belts. We got separated. Girls in one room and boys in another. And proceeded to tell us girls it will hurt no matter what, and we have to be the careful ones with contraception and standard contraction. Whilst the boys got it's cool, you're fine. Luckily my mum and I are close, so having that talk was a lot more insightful and easier than the shit they gave us at school. When I was in middle school, an 8th grader told me that men have a set number of sperm, so if I masturbated too much I'd never have kids. / edit. Holy shit. This blew up. Thanks for all the happy cake days. Y'all. If that were true, I think most men would be infertile by their 20s. Lol. We had an abstinence educator talk to my 10th grade class about some activities that didn't involve vaginal intercourse. Some kid in the back of the room recommended anal. It was all over at that point. Edit. Holy shit, Reddit. I had to charge my phone in my kitchen because the alerts were keeping me up. Shine on you glorious weirdos. The big joke at my school was we had a guy coming to teach us about sexually transmitted infections / diseases. I forget if this was pre/post the shift to calling them STIs. He had an anonymous Q/A session where you wrote on slips of paper your question and it was put in a box which he drew at random. Most of the questions were fairly standard with a couple of small jokes that he fielded well. But then he drew one that asked if there were any diseases the person could get from sex with their dog. Everyone erupted into laughter over this, and when the teachers managed to get us to calm down, what he said was worse. He basically told us that the only known STIs you could get from dogs gave flu-like symptoms, and given that you couldn't get pregnant from it, he fully recommended you do this instead of being with your so. There was no recovering from our reaction at that point. We never really spoke about it, which I guess is worse. To be fair, my friend didn't get pregnant until after mandatory, when she was 16. It's mandatory for girls to get pregnant at 16. That's rough, buddy. Mine was at an all-girls school. Every time you have sex with a man, you lose some of your special glue. If you lose all your special glue, no one will want to marry you. Apostrophe. Seems like more sex would get you more special glue. Hey, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.